been through a lot lately. We've survived the sanctions policy that misled us under the pretext that the sanctions policy would bring Russia to its knees. The Russians have doubled their business. There is no question of bringing Russia to its knees at all. On the contrary, we see how Austria harms itself and how Europe harms itself, where we ourselves actually suffered more from the sanctions. And we see rising prices for electricity and gas, for food in Europe. More and more people will suffer from this.
So, after the European Union cutting itself off from Russian oil and Russian gas, European industry and households can't afford to pay the high costs of the remaining gas, either that's in the reserves or imported liquefied natural gas from the US, priced at 2 to 4 times the US market rate, as French President Emmanuel Macron complained to Joe Biden during a state visit to the White House earlier this month. So Europe made a mess of its own economy with its own sanctions and is forcing everyone to lie in this mess, as European politicians are now routinely pointing out.
The problem is, we're going to destroy what's left over from our industry. The few businesses who stayed are contemplating moving to another country, for example to the US, where energy is much cheaper. One last thing, the genius of our ecologists and our elites. You noticed that with the conflict in Ukraine, we gave up on Russian gas and rushed towards American gas, the famous LNG. You noticed that even ecologists stopped criticizing this type of gas. But do you know where it comes from?
As for Russian gas, it's Putin who stopped deliveries towards Europe.
No, it's us who boycotted the Russian gas supplies. We said we don't want it anymore. And he said we will not supply to you anymore then.
It's been far too long since European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen promised Europeans some relief, even as energy bills continue to pile up. So what's Brussels' brilliant idea to fix its mess? To cap the price of gas now. It seems that they're desperate to fix a situation of their own making, as Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov explains.
Amid the absurd and frantic desire, as the Europeans say, to get rid of their dependence on Russia, they do not say at the same time that they want to exchange one dependence for another. That is, they have now changed their dependence on Russia for dependence on American liquefied natural gas. It's exactly the same dependence. There is much less reciprocity. And now, when the Europeans lose billions of euros every day, the United States is now earning billions of dollars there.
But there's another problem. The European Commission knows full well that setting the cap too low could mean screwing up the bloc's energy market even more than it already has. There's also the question of which countries could actually stop selling gas to Europe altogether, because, well, since when does the customer demand a certain price that they will pay? We're talking about global energy markets here, but the EU is basically saying that it wants to haggle over the price of gas like it's a dog-eared fourth-hand comic book on sale at the local neighborhood garage sale. Even the European Central Bank is warning of the risk of financial instability with this move, as are some EU countries like Germany and the Netherlands. The European Commission knows the risks, which is why it's just paying lip service to the idea, with a price cap so high that it's virtually useless at 275 euros per megawatt hour. Europe's natural gas is trading right now at about 135.5 euros per megawatt hour. And even at that price, people and businesses are struggling. So there are 12 EU countries now demanding a lower price cap, somewhere between 200 and 150 euros. And those 12 countries could very well veto anything higher as the bloc's energy ministers meet to tackle this issue this week. Not only has Brussels jeopardized its own energy security and economic security, but also its military security as it ships its weapons off to Ukraine. That hasn't gone unnoticed either by European political and industrial figures.
Military stocks have disappeared altogether, but we continue to send arms and ammunition to Zelensky. Let's stop this complete madness.
Bundeswehr? Previously, it had more than 2,000 Leopard 2 tanks. Now there are about 300 of them. It may still be able to defend Augsburg with them, but not Berlin.
The good news is that it's still not too late to pull out of the nosedive. But unfortunately, the pilots at the controls here in Europe seem more interested in proving that everyone is on board and united as they hurtle towards Earth, cheering, "Bam, take that, Putin."